What happens when a beloved singer sits down for what should be a friendly chat and ends up in the most shocking talk show meltdown of the year? In just 37 seconds, one comment from the host turned a celebration into chaos, exposing a side of daytime television nobody saw coming. This is the story of how Teddy Swims got kicked off Kelly Clarkson's show, and trust me, you need to hear every single word of what went down. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Now, let's get into it. The studio lights were bright that afternoon. Teddy Swims walked onto the set with that genuine smile he's known for, waving to the audience as they cheered. He was there to talk about his music, his journey, and connect with fans. Everything seemed perfect. The band played him on. Kelly stood up from her seat clapping, and Teddy made his way across the stage. They hugged briefly, and Teddy sat down on the guest couch, adjusting his jacket. The audience settled down, and Kelly took her seat, cards in hand, ready to start the interview. But something felt different from the start. Her energy was off. Cold, almost. Kelly started without her usual warmth. "So Teddy, you've had quite the rise, haven't you?" Teddy nodded, still smiling. "Yeah, it's been incredible. I'm just grateful for everyone who's supported the music, you know? It's been a wild ride." Kelly leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs. Wild ride. Interesting choice of words. You know, a lot of people are saying you came out of nowhere. Like, where were you before all this? The audience laughed a little, thinking it was playful banter, but Teddy's smile faltered just slightly. "Well, I've been doing music for years. Posting covers online, doing small shows, putting in the work. It just took time for people to notice." Kelly nodded slowly, but her expression didn't match someone who was actually listening. Right. Covers. So you were basically singing other people's songs until someone decided to give you a shot at your own? There was an awkward pause. A few people in the audience shifted in their seats. Teddy cleared his throat. Yeah, covers were part of my journey. That's how I connected with people online. But I've always been writing my own music too. That's what really matters to me." Kelly tapped her cards on the desk, making a small noise that cut through the moment. Sure. But let's be honest, Teddy. You got famous because you sang songs people already loved. That's not exactly groundbreaking, is it? The smile on Teddy's face was gone now. He sat up a little straighter. "I think connecting with people through music, no matter how you do it, is valuable. Covers help me build a community. And now I get to share my own stories with them." Kelly shrugged, like she wasn't impressed. "I guess. I just think it's funny how the music industry works now. You don't even need real talent anymore. You just need to go viral." The audience went quiet. This wasn't playful anymore. This was pointed. Teddy's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. "I respect your opinion, but I don't think that's fair. Going viral doesn't mean someone doesn't have talent. It just means people connected with something genuine." Kelly laughed, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was dismissive. Genuine. That's a cute way to put it. "Look, I've been in this industry for over 2 decades. I won a competition show. I earned my spot. I just wonder if people like you appreciate how easy you have it now." Teddy blinked, clearly taken aback. "Easy? You think this has been easy?" Kelly waved her hand. "Compared to what people like me went through? Yeah, I do. You post a video, it goes viral, and suddenly you're on magazine covers. Back in my day, you had to actually prove yourself. You had to sing in front of millions of people on live television and hope America voted for you. There was pressure. Real pressure." Teddy leaned forward, his voice steady but firm. "With all due respect, Kelly, just because my path was different doesn't mean it wasn't hard. I spent years grinding, playing to empty rooms, working jobs I hated just to afford studio time. Nobody handed me anything." Kelly tilted her head, feigning sympathy. "Oh, I'm sure it was tough posting videos from your bedroom. Really grueling stuff." The sarcasm was thick, and the audience was visibly uncomfortable now. A few people whispered to each other. Teddy took a deep breath, clearly trying to keep things civil. "Look, I didn't come here to argue about whose journey was harder. I came here to talk about my music and share my story. If you're not interested in that, then maybe we should just wrap this up." Kelly's eyebrows shot up. "Oh, wow. Okay, so now you're telling me how to run my show?" Teddy shook his head. "That's not what I said." Kelly leaned forward, her voice rising slightly. No, I think it is. You come on my show, sit on my couch, and now you want to tell me what we should talk about? That's bold." Teddy stayed calm, but you could see the frustration building. "I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair for you to sit here and belittle my journey. You don't know what I've been through." Kelly laughed again, sharper this time. Belittle? I'm being honest. Maybe that's something you're not used to. Maybe everyone's been blowing smoke at you because you're the hot new thing, but I'm not going to do that. Teddy stared at her, disbelief written all over his face. I don't need smoke blown at me. I just need basic respect. That's it. Kelly sat back, crossing her arms. Respect is earned, Teddy. And I'm sorry, but singing someone else's songs on the internet doesn't automatically earn you respect in my book. That was the line. Teddy stood up slowly, his hands open in a gesture of surrender. You know what? I think I'm done here. The audience gasped. Kelly's face twisted in surprise, then quickly turned to anger. Excuse me? You're done? You don't get to decide when this interview is over. Teddy looked at her, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Actually, I do. I'm not going to sit here and let you disrespect me on national television. I've worked too hard, been through too much, to let anyone make me feel small. Not even you. Kelly stood up too, her voice louder now. You think you can just walk off my show? Do you know how many people would kill to be in your position right now? Teddy shook his head. Then invite one of them, because I'm not interested in being treated like this. The tension was suffocating. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second. Kelly pointed toward the exit. Fine. Leave. But don't expect to come crawling back when this little moment of fame you're having dries up. Teddy didn't respond. He just turned and started walking toward the stage exit. The audience didn't know whether to clap, boo, or stay silent. Most just sat there, stunned. Kelly stood at her desk, breathing hard, clearly furious that someone had the audacity to walk away from her. But Teddy didn't stop. He kept walking, past the cameras, past the crew members who stood frozen, unsure of what to do. One of the producers tried to step in front of him, gesturing for him to wait, but Teddy politely moved around them and kept going. Kelly's voice echoed through the studio. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. This is what happens when people get a little taste of success. They forget where they came from. They forget who helped build the platform they're standing on. Teddy paused near the exit, just for a moment. He turned back, looking directly at Kelly. I know exactly where I came from, and I know exactly who helped me get here. It was my fans, not people who tear others down to feel better about themselves. And with that, he was gone. The studio fell into chaos. Producers scrambled, trying to figure out what to do next. Kelly stood there, her chest heaving, clearly not expecting things to go that way. The audience murmured loudly now, some people pulling out their phones, already texting about what they just witnessed. Kelly tried to regain control. She turned to the audience, forcing a smile that looked more like a grimace. Well, that was unexpected. I guess some people can't handle a real conversation, but the audience wasn't buying it. The energy in the room had shifted completely. What was supposed to be a fun, lighthearted interview had turned into a full-blown confrontation, and everyone knew it. The cameras cut to commercial, but the damage was already done. Backstage, Teddy was being followed by members of the production team. One of them, a woman with a headset and clipboard, was practically jogging to keep up with him. Teddy, please, just wait a second. Can we talk about this? Teddy stopped and turned to face her, his expression exhausted. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not going back out there. The woman looked panicked. I understand you're upset, but we have a whole show to finish. We can edit some of this out. We can fix it. Teddy shook his head firmly. You can't edit out disrespect. She made it clear what she thinks of me. I'm not interested in pretending that didn't happen. Another producer, an older man in a suit, walked up quickly. Teddy, listen, Kelly can be intense sometimes, but she doesn't mean anything by it. It's just her style. She pushes people. It's what makes the show interesting. Teddy looked at him like he'd just said the most ridiculous thing in the world. Interesting? You think that was interesting? She insulted me, my career, and everything I've worked for. That's not interesting. That's just mean. The man held up his hands defensively. Okay. Maybe things got a little heated, but walking off, that's a big deal. It's gonna look bad for you. Teddy laughed, but there was no humor in it. It's gonna look bad for me? She's the one who turned an interview into an attack. I defended myself. If that looks bad, then so be it. The woman with the clipboard tried again, her voice softer now. Teddy, please, we can make this right. We can bring you back out. Kelly can apologize, and we can finish on a good note. The audience will love it. Redemption, reconciliation, all of that. Teddy stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but firm. I don't need a fake apology for the cameras. I need real respect. And if she can't give me that, then there's nothing else to say. He turned and walked toward his dressing room, leaving the producers standing there helplessly. Inside, he grabbed his bag and his jacket. His hands were shaking slightly, adrenaline still pumping through his veins. He couldn't believe what had just happened. All he wanted was to talk about his music, to share his passion with people who might care. Instead, he walked into an ambush. Back on the stage, Kelly was pacing during the commercial break. Her team surrounded her, talking quickly, trying to figure out how to salvage the rest of the show. Kelly kept shaking her head, clearly frustrated. "He's being ridiculous. I wasn't even that hard on him." One of her assistants spoke carefully. "Kelly, the audience seemed pretty uncomfortable. Maybe we could have approached it differently?" Kelly spun around. "Approached it differently?" "I asked him honest questions. If he can't handle honesty, that's on him, not me." The director stepped in, his voice calm but urgent. "Kelly, we need to address this when we come back from commercial. The audience is waiting. They're confused. We need to smooth this over." Kelly crossed her arms. "Fine, I'll say something, but I'm not apologizing for asking real questions." The director nodded, though his expression suggested he disagreed. They had about 60 seconds before they were live again. The makeup artist rushed over to fix Kelly's face, dabbing away the shine from the stress. Kelly took a deep breath, rolling her shoulders back, trying to reset. The stage manager counted down. 5, 4, 3, and they were live. Kelly sat back down at her desk, putting on a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome back, everyone. So, as you just saw, things got a little intense. Teddy decided he needed to leave, and, that's his choice. I believe in having real, honest conversations on this show, and sometimes those conversations get uncomfortable. But that's life, right?" The audience clapped politely, but it was weak, uncertain. Kelly continued, "I've been doing this for a long time, and I've learned that not everyone can handle direct questions. And that's okay. I wish Teddy the best. I really do. But I'm not going to apologize for being real." The applause was even quieter this time, Kelly noticed. She shifted in her seat, her smile tightening. "Anyway, let's move on. We have an amazing next guest coming up, so stick around." But the energy was gone. The rest of the show felt flat, awkward. The next guest came out, a comedian who tried his best to lighten the mood, but even he seemed aware of the tension still hanging in the air. Kelly went through the motions, laughing at the right moments, asking her questions, but it all felt forced now. Meanwhile, Teddy was already in his car, leaving the studio lot. His phone was blowing up with messages from his team, from friends, from people asking what happened. He ignored most of them. He just needed a minute to process everything. He stared out the window as the city blurred past, replaying the conversation in his head. He knew people would talk. He knew this would be everywhere by tomorrow, but he also knew he did the right thing. He stood up for himself. He didn't let someone with power and a platform make him feel less than. And that mattered more than anything else. Back at the studio, as the show wrapped up, the crew packed up equipment in silence. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something big, something that would be talked about for weeks, maybe months. Kelly left the stage quickly, not stopping to chat with anyone like she normally did. She went straight to her dressing room and closed the door. The production assistants exchanged glances as Kelly's door slammed shut. Nobody wanted to be the one to knock. Inside, Kelly sat at her vanity, staring at her reflection. Her phone sat face down on the counter, but she could hear it buzzing constantly. Text after text, call after call. She knew what was happening. The clip was probably already online. People were already picking sides. She grabbed her phone and flipped it over. 32 missed calls, dozens of texts. Her publicist had sent 7 messages in a row, each one more urgent than the last. "Kelly, we need to talk. Call me immediately. This is blowing up online. Kelly, please respond. We need to get ahead of this." Kelly tossed the phone back down. She didn't want to deal with it. Not yet. In her mind, she hadn't done anything wrong. She asked questions, real questions, the kind of questions that people were probably thinking anyway. Why was everyone so sensitive these days? Why couldn't people handle a real conversation anymore? There was a soft knock at the door. Kelly didn't answer. The knock came again, more insistent this time. "Kelly, it's Susan. Can I come in?" Susan was her executive producer, one of the few people who could talk to Kelly directly without going through layers of assistants and managers. Kelly sighed. "Fine. Come in." The door opened slowly, and Susan stepped inside, closing it behind her. She looked tired, stressed. "Kelly, we need to talk about what just happened out there." Kelly spun around in her chair. "What about it?" I asked him some questions. He couldn't handle it. He left. End of story. Susan shook her head, sitting down on the small couch against the wall. It's not that simple, and you know it. The audience was uncomfortable. The crew was uncomfortable, and now it's all over social media. People are saying you were too harsh, that you attacked him. Kelly scoffed. Attacked him? Are you kidding me? I asked him about his career, about how he got famous. Those are normal interview questions. Susan chose her words carefully. Kelly, it wasn't just what you asked. It was how you asked it. The tone, the comments about him not having real talent, about his journey being easy. That doesn't come across well. Kelly stood up, pacing the small room. So what? I'm supposed to throw softball questions at everyone who comes on my show? I'm supposed to pretend like everyone's journey is equally valid? He got famous from doing covers online. That's just a fact. Susan held up her hands. I'm not saying you can't ask tough questions, but there's a way to do it that doesn't feel like you're tearing someone down. Teddy Swims has a huge fan base. They love him, and right now, they're watching that clip and they're seeing their favorite artist get treated badly by you. Kelly stopped pacing. Treated badly? Oh, come on. If he can't handle a little pushback, maybe he's not cut out for this industry. Susan stood up, her voice firmer now. Kelly, listen to me. This isn't about whether you think you were right or wrong. This is about how it's playing out in public. And right now, it's not good. People are calling you a bully. They're saying you were jealous, that you were punching down at someone who's still building their career. Kelly's face flushed. Jealous? Of him? That's insane. I've sold millions of albums. I've won Grammys. I've been doing this for over 20 years. Why would I be jealous of some guy who sings covers on TikTok? Susan took a deep breath. I'm just telling you what people are saying. And whether you agree with it or not, we need to figure out how to respond. Your publicist is having a meltdown. The network is getting calls. This is a situation, Kelly. Kelly sat back down, rubbing her temples. What do you want me to do? Go on social media and apologize? Pretend like I did something wrong when I didn't? Susan sat back down too, leaning forward. I want you to think about what actually happened. Not what you intended, but what actually came across. Because from where I was sitting and from where the audience was sitting, it looked like you were taking shots at him, personal shots. And he handled it with a lot more grace than most people would have. Kelly looked up sharply. Grace? He walked off my show. Susan nodded. Yeah, he did. After you insulted his career multiple times, after you dismissed everything he's worked for, he tried to keep it respectful. He tried to redirect the conversation. And when that didn't work, he left. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just removed himself from the situation. That's pretty mature, if you ask me. Kelly stared at her producer, feeling the weight of those words. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, she knew Susan was right, but admitting that felt impossible. The silence hung between them for a long moment. Finally, Susan spoke again, softer this time. Kelly, you're incredibly talented. You've built an amazing career. But this isn't who you are. Or at least, it's not who you should be. You know what it's like to struggle in this industry. You know how hard it is to make it. Why would you make someone else feel small for doing the same thing? Kelly's eyes stung, but she blinked it away. I don't know. I guess I felt like he didn't earn it the same way I did. Like it was too easy for him. Susan leaned back. But who gets to decide what counts as earning it? You went through a competition show. He built a following online. Both paths are hard in different ways. Both require talent and dedication and luck. There's no one right way to make it in music. Kelly was quiet again. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it. Another text from her publicist. Another missed call. She knew she couldn't avoid it forever. Meanwhile, in his apartment across town, Teddy sat on his couch, staring at his own phone. The video was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Every platform had the clip. Teddy Swims walks off Kelly Clarkson show after heated exchange. The comments were pouring in by the thousands. His manager called. Teddy, are you okay? Teddy nodded, even though she couldn't see him. Yeah, I'm okay. Just processing everything. His manager's voice was both concerned and excited. Teddy, I'm not gonna lie, this is huge. The clip has millions of views already. People are on your side. They're saying you handled it perfectly, that you stood up for yourself. This could actually be really good for you. Teddy frowned. I don't want it to be good for me because of drama. I want it to be good for me because of my music." His manager paused. "I know, I get that. But sometimes these moments happen, and we have to figure out how to navigate them. You didn't create this situation, she did. And you responded with class. That says a lot about who you are." Teddy sighed. "What do I do now? Do I need to make a statement? Do I need to say something publicly?" His manager thought for a moment. "Not right now. Let people watch the video. Let them come to their own conclusions. You don't need to add fuel to the fire. If anything, your silence right now makes you look even better. You're taking the high road." Teddy wasn't sure about that. He didn't want this to define him. He didn't want to be known as the guy who walked off Kelly Clarkson's show. He wanted to be known for his voice, his songs, his heart. But he also knew that sometimes you don't get to choose what moments define you. Sometimes they just happen. Back at the studio, Susan had left Kelly's dressing room. Kelly sat alone again, scrolling through social media on her phone. She told herself she wouldn't look, but she couldn't help it. The comments were brutal. People she'd never met were calling her names, questioning her character, bringing up old controversies. Some people defended her, saying she had every right to ask tough questions, but they were drowned out by the majority who sided with Teddy. One comment stuck with her. It said, "Kelly Clarkson used to be someone who lifted people up. When did she become someone who tears them down?" She stared at those words for a long time. She remembered being on American Idol, terrified and hopeful, just wanting someone to believe in her. She remembered the judges who were kind, who encouraged her, who made her feel like she could actually do this. And she remembered the judges who were harsh, who made her doubt herself, who made her want to quit. Which kind of person was she becoming? Her phone rang. It was her publicist again. This time, Kelly answered. "Hey, Rachel." Rachel's voice was calm but firm. "Kelly, we need to talk about a response. The network wants a statement. Your social media is blowing up. We need to control the narrative here." Kelly rubbed her face. "What kind of statement?" Rachel didn't hesitate. "An apology. A genuine one. You need to acknowledge that things got heated, that you could have handled it better, and that you respect Teddy and his career." Kelly felt her chest tighten. An apology. Publicly admitting she was wrong. That felt like giving up ground, like losing. But another part of her, the part that Susan's words had reached, knew it was the right thing to do. Not for optics, not for damage control, but because it was true. Kelly took a deep breath. "Okay, let's draft something." Rachel sounded relieved. "Good. I'll send you a draft in an hour. We'll get this out tonight, before the morning news cycle picks it up even more." They hung up, and Kelly sat there in the quiet of her dressing room. The lights around her vanity mirror felt too bright. Everything felt too bright, too exposed. She thought about calling Teddy directly, apologizing to him privately before making any public statement, but she didn't have his number. And even if she did, would he answer? Would he even want to hear from her? She thought about what she'd said to him, about covers not being groundbreaking, about him not having real talent, about his path being easy. Every word felt heavier now, replaying in her mind. She'd been so focused on making a point, on being the one with more experience, with more credibility, that she forgot to treat him like a human being, like someone who loved music just as much as she did. Her phone buzzed with an email. Rachel had sent the draft statement already. Kelly opened it and read through the words. It was professional, carefully worded, hitting all the right notes, but it felt hollow, like something a PR team would write because they had to, not because anyone actually meant it. Kelly deleted the draft and opened a blank note. She started typing her own words, real words. It took her 20 minutes, deleting and rewriting, trying to make sure it sounded like her and not some corporate apology. When she finished, she read it over 3 times. Then she copied it and sent it to Rachel. Her publicist called immediately. "Kelly, it's very personal. Are you sure you want to go this route?" Kelly nodded to herself. "Yeah, I'm sure. If I'm going to apologize, it needs to be real, not some template." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "Okay, I'll post it for you in 10 minutes. Get ready for the response." Kelly hung up and waited. 10 minutes felt like an hour. Finally, her phone exploded with notifications. The statement was live. People were reading it, reacting to it, judging it. The statement read, "I owe Teddy Swims an apology. Today on my show, I let my own ego get in the way of what should have been a celebration of his talent and his journey. I made comments that were dismissive and disrespectful, and that's not who I want to be. Teddy handled himself with grace and maturity, and I failed to do the same. There's no one right path to success in this industry, and I should know that better than anyone. I'm sorry, Teddy. You deserved better." The reactions were mixed. Some people praised her for owning up to it. Others said it was too little, too late. Some said she was only apologizing because of the backlash. But a few people, the ones whose opinions actually mattered to Kelly, said it was a good first step. Teddy saw the statement. His manager sent it to him with a message. She posted this. "What do you think?" Teddy read it twice. He didn't know how to feel. Part of him appreciated the apology. It took guts to admit you were wrong publicly. But another part of him wondered if she really meant it, or if this was just damage control. He decided not to respond publicly. He didn't want to drag this out. He didn't want more attention on the drama. He just wanted to move forward. But moving forward wasn't going to be that simple. The next morning, Kelly woke up to even more headlines. Every entertainment news outlet had covered the story. Talk shows were discussing it. Radio hosts were debating it. It had become the biggest story in entertainment that week, and everyone had an opinion. Kelly's phone rang early. It was her manager. "Kelly, the network wants you to address this on tomorrow's show. They think it would be good for you to talk about it directly with the audience. Show them you're being genuine about the apology." Kelly groaned. "Do I have to?" Her manager's voice was sympathetic but firm. "It would help. Right now, people are still skeptical. If they see you talk about it in person, with real emotion, it might change some minds. Plus, it shows you're not hiding." Kelly agreed, reluctantly. The thought of standing in front of her audience and admitting her mistakes felt terrifying. But maybe that was the point. Maybe she needed to feel uncomfortable. Maybe that's what growth felt like. That same morning, Teddy was sitting in a coffee shop, trying to have a normal day. But everywhere he looked, people recognized him. Some came up to tell him they supported him. Others just stared. One woman, probably in her 50s, walked right up to his table. "I just want you to know, you did the right thing. Don't let anyone make you feel small." Teddy smiled genuinely. "Thank you. That means a lot." She nodded and walked away, and Teddy went back to his coffee. But his mind was elsewhere. He kept thinking about the interview, about Kelly's words, about how quickly everything had escalated. He wondered if he should have handled it differently. Maybe he could have stayed calm longer. Maybe he could have found a way to redirect the conversation without walking off. But then he remembered how he felt in that moment. The way her words made him feel worthless, like everything he'd worked for didn't matter. And he knew that staying would have meant accepting that treatment. It would have meant letting her diminish him for entertainment, and that wasn't something he could live with. His phone buzzed. It was a text from his manager. "Kelly's going to address it on her show tomorrow. Thought you should know." Teddy stared at the message. Part of him wanted to watch it. Part of him never wanted to think about Kelly Clarkson again. He typed back, "Thanks for letting me know," and left it at that. The next day arrived faster than Kelly expected. She walked into the studio with a knot in her stomach. The crew greeted her like they always did, but there was a carefulness to their interactions, like they were walking on eggshells. Kelly noticed but didn't say anything. She sat in her dressing room, going over what she wanted to say. She'd written notes, bullet points of thoughts she wanted to express, but she knew that when she got out there, she'd have to speak from the heart. Scripts wouldn't cut it. People would see right through anything that felt rehearsed. Susan knocked and entered. "You ready?" Kelly looked up. "As ready as I'll ever be." Susan sat down across from her. "Listen, whatever you say out there, just be honest. That's all people want. They want to see that you're human, that you make mistakes, that you can learn from them." Kelly nodded. "What if they don't forgive me?" Susan smiled sadly. "Then they don't. But at least you'll know you tried. At least you'll know you did the right thing." The stage manager called for Kelly. It was time. She walked out onto the stage, and the audience applauded, but it was different, more reserved. She could feel the tension in the room. Everyone knew what she was about to talk about. Kelly sat at her desk, taking a deep breath. She looked directly at the camera. "So, I'm not going to pretend like you all don't know what happened earlier this week. The interview with Teddy Swims, the things I said, the way it ended. It's been all over the news, all over social media, and honestly, it's been weighing on me heavily." The audience was silent, listening intently. Kelly continued, her voice steady but vulnerable. "I posted an apology online, but I wanted to talk about it here too, in front of all of you. Because you deserve to hear it directly from me, not just through a screen. What I did during that interview was wrong. I let my own insecurities and my own ego take over. And I said things that were hurtful and dismissive. And Teddy didn't deserve that." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I've been in this industry for a long time. And somewhere along the way, I think I started believing that my path was the only valid one. That because I went through a certain kind of struggle, anyone who had a different experience somehow had it easier. But that's not true. And it's not fair. Kelly's eyes were starting to glisten. Teddy Swims has worked incredibly hard to get where he is. He built a community. He connected with people through his voice and his authenticity. And instead of celebrating that, I tore it down. I made him feel like his accomplishments didn't matter. And I'm truly sorry for that. The audience was still quiet, but there were nods. People were listening, really listening. Kelly went on. I think what happened is a reminder that no matter how successful you become, no matter how long you've been doing something, you can still mess up. You can still let your ego get in the way of treating people with basic kindness and respect. And that's what I did. I failed at the most basic level. She wiped at her eyes quickly. I don't know if Teddy will ever see this. I don't know if he'll ever forgive me, but I want him to know, and I want all of you to know, that I'm going to do better. I'm going to check myself. I'm going to remember what it felt like to be the person trying to make it, hoping someone would give me a chance, and I'm going to be that person for others. The person who lifts people up, not tears them down. The audience started clapping. It wasn't a roaring applause, but it was genuine, warm. Kelly smiled through her tears. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. And to Teddy, wherever you are, I'm sorry. You handled that situation with more grace than I did, and I respect you for that. She took another breath and shifted gears. All right, let's get to today's show. We've got some great guests lined up, and I promise I'm going to treat them the way they deserve to be treated. The audience laughed lightly, and the tension broke just a little. The show went on, and Kelly did exactly what she promised. She was kind, engaged, and genuinely interested in her guests. It felt like a reset, like she was remembering why she started doing this in the first place. Across town, Teddy was in a recording studio working on new music. He hadn't watched Kelly's show, but his phone was full of messages from people telling him about it. His manager called Teddy. She addressed it. She apologized again on air. It was pretty heartfelt. People are responding well to it. Teddy set down his guitar. That's good. I'm glad she did that. His manager paused. Do you want to respond? Maybe post something acknowledging it? Teddy thought about it. He could post something gracious, something that would close this chapter cleanly. But another part of him felt like he'd already said everything he needed to say by walking off that stage. His actions spoke for themselves. I don't think I need to say anything else. What happened? Happened. She apologized. I appreciate that. But I don't want to keep this story going. I just want to focus on my music. His manager understood. Fair enough. You do what feels right to you. They hung up, and Teddy went back to his guitar. He strummed a few chords, humming a melody that had been in his head all morning. This whole experience, as painful as it was, had given him something. It had reminded him why he does this. Not for fame, not for validation from people in positions of power, but because music is how he connects with people, how he shares his truth. He started writing lyrics, lines about standing up for yourself, about knowing your worth, about not letting anyone dim your light. The song poured out of him, raw and honest. By the end of the session, he had something real, something that mattered. A few days later, Teddy posted a snippet of the new song on his social media. He didn't mention Kelly. He didn't mention the interview. He just posted the music with a simple caption. This one's for anyone who's ever been made to feel small. You're bigger than that. Keep shining. The response was immediate. Millions of views, thousands of comments. People connected with it instantly. They knew what inspired it, even though he didn't say it outright. And that was the power of his art. He didn't need to spell everything out. He could channel his experiences into something universal, something that resonated with people who had their own stories of being underestimated or dismissed. Kelly saw the post. She listened to the snippet, and it hit her hard. The lyrics were about resilience, about self-worth, about refusing to be diminished. And she knew, without a doubt, that her words had been part of what inspired this song. She felt a mix of emotions, regret, for sure, but also something else, respect. Teddy had taken a painful experience and turned it into art. That's what real artists do. She typed out a comment under his post. Beautiful song. Can't wait to hear the full version. But before she could hit send, she stopped herself. Would her comment be welcomed? Or would it just feel like she was trying to insert herself into his moment? She decided against it. Instead, she just liked the post and moved on. Some things were better left unsaid. Weeks went by. The story faded from the headlines, as stories always do. New scandals emerged. New viral moments took over social media. But the people who were there, who witnessed what happened, didn't forget. For Teddy's fans, it became a defining moment, the moment their favorite artist showed his strength and integrity. For Kelly's fans, it was more complicated. Some defended her, saying everyone makes mistakes. Others lost respect for her, and some, the ones who really listened to her apology, saw it as a moment of growth. Kelly kept her promise. In the weeks and months that followed, she approached her show differently. She asked tough questions still, because that was her job, but she did it with empathy, with curiosity instead of judgment. And when guests came on who reminded her of Teddy, young artists who were building their careers in unconventional ways, she made a point to celebrate them, to ask them about their journey with genuine interest, not skepticism. One afternoon, months after the incident, Kelly was reviewing upcoming guests with her producer. Susan handed her a list and pointed to one name. "We've been trying to get this artist on for a while. They just confirmed. Next month." Kelly looked at the name and froze. Teddy Swims. She looked up at Susan. "Is this a joke?" Susan shook her head. "No joke. His team reached out. They said he's releasing a new album and wanted to do press. And apparently, he specifically asked to come back on your show." Kelly couldn't believe it. After everything, he wanted to come back? Why? Susan shrugged. Maybe he wants closure. Maybe he wants to show people that he's moved past it. Or maybe he just believes in second chances. Kelly stared at the name on the list. Her heart was racing. This was an opportunity, a chance to make things right in person. But it was also terrifying. What if it went wrong again? What if she said the wrong thing? What if the audience expected drama and she couldn't deliver the redemption they wanted? But then she realized this wasn't about the audience. This was about Teddy. And about her. Two people who love music, who had both struggled in their own ways, getting a chance to have the conversation they should have had the first time. Kelly looked at Susan. "Confirm it. Tell his team yes. And tell them I promise to do better this time." Susan smiled. "I will." The weeks leading up to the interview felt longer than usual. Kelly thought about it constantly. She made notes about what she wanted to ask him, but this time, the questions came from a place of genuine curiosity. She wanted to know about his creative process, about what inspired his new album, about how he stayed grounded through all the chaos of sudden fame. When the day finally arrived, Kelly was more nervous than she'd been in years. She stood backstage, pacing, running through everything in her mind. Susan came up beside her. "You're going to be great. Just be yourself, the best version of yourself." Kelly nodded. "What if he's still angry?" Susan put a hand on her shoulder. "Then you listen, you acknowledge it, and you move forward together. That's all you can do." The show started. Kelly went through her opening segment, her energy good but with an undercurrent of anticipation. And then it was time. The band started playing, and Kelly stood up from her desk. "Please welcome back to the show, the incredibly talented Teddy Swims." The audience erupted. They cheered louder than they had for any guest in recent memory. And then Teddy walked out. He looked confident, relaxed, smiling that genuine smile of his. Kelly walked toward him, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. And then she extended her hand. Teddy looked at it, then smiled and pulled her into a hug instead. The audience went wild. It was the moment everyone had been hoping for. Proof that people can move past conflict, that growth is possible, that forgiveness is real. They sat down, and Kelly took a breath before speaking. "Teddy, thank you for coming back. Truly, I know last time didn't end well, and that was entirely my fault. So before we talk about anything else, I just want to say again, in person, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve how I treated you." Teddy nodded, his expression open and kind. "I appreciate that, Kelly. Really. And I accepted your apology a long time ago. We all have bad days. We all say things we regret. What matters is what we do after. And you owned it. That takes courage." Kelly felt relief wash over her. "Thank you for saying that. So tell me about this new album. I've heard some of it, and it's incredible." And just like that, they were talking. Really talking. About music, about life, about the challenges of being an artist in a world that's constantly changing. Kelly asked thoughtful questions. Teddy gave thoughtful answers. The conversation flowed naturally, filled with laughter and mutual respect. At one point, Kelly brought up the song he'd posted months ago, the one about not letting anyone make you feel small. That song really resonated with people. "Can you talk about what inspired it?" Teddy smiled, knowing exactly where the question was leading. "You know, it came from a lot of places. But yeah, our last conversation was part of it. I think we all have moments where someone makes us question our worth. And in those moments, we have a choice. We can internalize it and let it break us down, or we can use it as fuel, as a reminder of who we are and what we're capable of. I chose the second option. Kelly's eyes were shining again, but this time with pride, not regret. That's beautiful. And that's exactly the kind of message people need to hear. The interview continued, and by the end, it felt like something had been healed, not just between Kelly and Teddy, but in everyone watching. It was proof that mistakes don't have to define you, that you can stumble, fall, and still find your way back to something better. As the segment wrapped, Kelly thanked Teddy again, and the audience gave him a standing ovation as he walked off stage. Kelly stayed at her desk, watching him go, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Genuine pride in how she'd handled something. She'd messed up, she'd owned it, and she'd been given a second chance to get it right. After the show, Kelly knocked on Teddy's dressing room door. He opened it, still smiling. "Hey, Kelly," she stepped inside. "I just wanted to thank you again for giving me another chance. You didn't have to do that." Teddy shrugged. "I believe people can change, and honestly, I think we both needed that conversation. The real one, not the one that went sideways." Kelly laughed. "Yeah, this one was definitely better. Listen, if you ever need anything, I mean it. I want to support you however I can." Teddy extended his hand, and they shook. "I appreciate that. And same to you. We're all in this together, right?" Kelly smiled. "Right." They said their goodbyes, and Teddy left the studio that day feeling lighter. He'd faced the situation head on. He'd shown grace, and he'd proven that standing up for yourself doesn't mean holding grudges forever. It just means knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it. Kelly went back to her dressing room and sat down, exhaling deeply. It was over. The chapter had closed. And she'd learned something invaluable, that humility isn't weakness, that apologizing isn't losing, and that the best way to use a platform is to lift others up, not to prove you're above them. That night, both Kelly and Teddy posted about the interview on social media. Kelly's post was simple. "Second chances are real. Thank you, Teddy Swims, for your grace and your incredible talent. Today was a reminder of why I love what I do." Teddy's post was equally simple. "Great conversation today. Grateful for the opportunity to share my music and my story. Remember, you don't have to shrink yourself for anyone. Keep shining." The comments were overwhelmingly positive. People celebrated the reconciliation. They praised both of them for handling it maturely. And most importantly, they took the lesson to heart. That conflict doesn't have to destroy relationships. That growth comes from acknowledging mistakes, and that everyone deserves respect, no matter where they are in their journey. In the end, what started as one of the most dramatic talk show moments of the year became something else entirely. A lesson in humility, a demonstration of grace, and a reminder that we're all human, capable of both hurting others and healing from those hurts.